how do you scream in that voice? I think that's where is she comes from.
There's an Easter egg in that mission. I've not seen anyone pick it up yet.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
Does Lego Batman know Lego Batman is Lego?
Does Lego Batman know? Woo! I don't think he knows, no. I think he thinks he's the coolest dude that's ever existed.
But
he has to.
If you're made of Lego, like we know we're made of flesh and water.
Yeah.
In his world, does he know that he's made of bricks?
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. I'm allergic to nuts.
I think it is pretty evident that the game is a love letter to just all forms of Batman through the years. Yeah. I mean, it references probably all the films, so many of the comic book stories, the animated series is heavily featured in it, and Arkham, not only in the story but also in the gameplay, which I think is giving so many people so much satisfaction and enjoyment.
We all are huge fans. I think everyone at the studio has their own relationship with Batman. They all became fans at different times on different pieces of source material. So depending on your age, when you became a Batman fan, you have your own kind of in point into that franchise. For me, it was the animated series. So when it came to the opportunity to do a Batman game, we were all keen to go, okay, let's celebrate everything that we love about Batman.
It manages to dance the dance of like complete sort of reference, but also it's completely fresh, which I think is lovely. And it's kind of, it's where this game is great, where it's not fan service for the sake of fan service. It's sort of like just fan service and like, we love this as much as you, and here's this cool bit, remember this, but what if it was that? I think it's like kids playing in a playground, or like just going, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this bit from Batman 89 with this bit from Batman Forever? Wouldn't it be cool? Let's try that. And that's the game.
It's like Lego.
It's like Lego. Yeah, you're right.
In terms of Batman references, I really enjoy there's a mission in Chapter 5 where the Joker has set up a series of decoys for Batman to find and chase, and each one of them is actually based on a different interpretation of the Joker through history. One of them's based on the original inspiration for the Joker, which is, before Batman even existed. So I thought that was a really nice way for us to kind of really hark back to the origins of all these different stories and characters.
That's how they kind of started with each character, wasn't it? If you look at Catwoman, they've got some of like Halle Berry in there, and then Michelle Pfeiffer. They've got her outfit. So sort of taking these iconic moments and being like, well, we have to ground it in something, but wouldn't it be nice if we still pay homage to all of these other bits and throw them together?
Head and Shoulders, my favourite reference is the Michael Caine tweet, the Batman Begin line. It was so funny to record. Harry, who voiced Alfred, was a great sport. He was like, I'll say it as many times as you want. I don't think he got exactly why I was in tears of laughter in the VO session, but he was like, yeah, sure, this is great. And that was a lot of fun to record, and I was really glad to see people spot that. I really enjoyed the recreation of the animated series intro that we did at the start of Chapter 4, where we changed it slightly because we had Robin in it, but that was really, really nice. There's some niche ones in there. There's a Limmy quote in the final boss fight, which I particularly enjoyed.
There was one I picked up on, which is, I think, and I checked this the other night, I think it was Blue Peter. They've referenced.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
When Red Hood's kind of going, here's one I made earlier.
Yes.
Which is from the 1970s and 60s. So many things.
And then we're just men. We're just ordinary men.
Oh,
you see that one?
No.
It was like a little viral thing that happened a while ago. Do you remember that?
Hacker T-Dog.
Yes, that was it.
Ordinary man.
Yeah.
It was like the puppeteer just did something really weird on some
Oh, yes!
show. Yeah. And they had like one character in it say that. Which was amazing.
It's amazing how much you find out after you made the game, when it's out and people see the references and go, I had no idea.
And also
that was
just
that.
seeing the delight of people. What I've seen a lot is people going, he said the thing! All the time, which is it's just lovely.
Where do you draw the line between what was an inspiration and what was an Easter egg or a reference? I mean, working on the Arkham Asylum mission in Lego Batman was a lot of fun, because we put a lot in there. There's a lot of Easter eggs and references in that mission. We've got obviously a lot of nods to the original Arkham series of games in there, with how we've got particular cameras and what we've called particular characters. We have the interrogation sequence with Batman and Joker, where we pull in some Batman versus Superman lines and some Batman 89 stuff. It really is, there's so much. There's an Easter egg in that mission, which I won't spoil, but I've not seen anyone pick it up yet online, and it's probably one of the ones we're most proud of as well, in featuring. But no one, not on my algorithm anyway, has picked it up. So that'll be interesting to see if anyone finds that. But we love it so much, we're not talking about it. It's one of those. It's like with Easter eggs and references, you don't want to tell everyone where they are and what they are, but there's a voice in that mission that you should keep your ears open for.
I need to become more than a man. I need to become a symbol.
You come into the audition, you have no idea what's happening behind closed doors or behind the zooms. You only think about Batman, and then Bruce Wayne was just sort of like, oh yeah, that's easy. That's kind of my voice, and just slightly cocky or whatever. So you kind of don't even think about that. And what I subsequently heard is that was a really big factor of why they chose me. And then the conceit of how you create the Batman voice is sort of just there, which blows my mind, because obviously everyone wants to talk about the Batman voice. No one thinks about the Bruce Wayne voice.
When it came to casting Batman, we were very keen that we had a Batman that sounded unique and sounded like our Batman that we were creating, because it brings together so many different Batman stories and Batman suits from so many recognizable performances of Batman. We wanted to find a Batman that we could say, yes, this is our Batman. He sounds like our Batman, and he isn't a Lego version of one that already exists. And when we heard Shai's performances and audition, we could hear in his voice that there was an incredibly likable and charming quality to his Bruce Wayne. And that was really important to us, because we start the game for well over an hour. You are playing as Bruce Wayne. So that is our way into this character. Is you need to love Bruce Wayne. And the more that we heard of him, and the more that we heard of him doing various Batman ages as well, because he has to sound like a young man in his mid to early 20s, and also needs to sound like he's in his late 40s, and he's kind of been around the block, and he's weary and tired. And the more we heard of him hitting Batman at these different points, like we're like, oh wow, okay, yeah, this guy's got the range to deliver a career spanning Batman with a Bruce Wayne that is hard not to love.
I think you have to sort of see the human side in the Batman before you can really sort of connect with Batman himself. I think it seems obvious to be like, oh, let's do a really tough, cool voice. But it's only kind of tough and cool because you know the man behind the mask.
Yeah. Who's the man behind the mask? I mean, we won't go too deep into like the discussion of what is his real voice, who is the real. That's a very Kevin Conroy discussion that he sort of brought to the front of like, is his real personality Batman or Bruce Wayne? And I think in the darker versions, it's definitely Batman. Batman is the real personality, is the real character, and Bruce Wayne is the disguise. And I think in our version, as it's Lego, as we don't go too deep psychologically into it, I guess Bruce Wayne is putting on a voice, putting on a disguise. More than the other.
But that's the same as Christopher Nolan's version.
Yeah.
We start with Bruce Wayne, and we follow him, and all of the things you see, and you sort of feel like there's the creation of the voice there as well, the creation of the character. And so I think that's really took heart.
Yeah. And what is the purpose of it as well? Is it just like a Clark Kent glasses disguise, or is it also, he's doing it to intimidate, he's doing it to instill fear in his enemies, and then it becomes who he is?
Why so serious?
When it came to finding a Joker for the game, we knew immediately that we couldn't do this game without having various interpretations of that character. With lots of the other villains, we kind of amalgamated some together or picked a specific interpretation that we wanted to do. But with the Joker, we couldn't just pick one. So we knew we would need to find a a performer that was able to take us through these different facets of this character. And when it came to putting that story together, and we were keen to explore that Batman 89 origin of that character as Jack Napier, and then taking from those original comics, and even more modern ones like Zero Year was a big inspiration, where we see him as Red Hood 1 going into the chemicals. We thought, okay, we can merge these things together and see Joker go on this journey where his story is one of transformation. When we nailed that, we're like, okay, so we need to start as this Batman 89 version of this character. We're going to take him through this journey from the comics as Red Hood 1, then transform him into this version that everyone recognizes from that 89 film, and then transform him again into the Dark Knight version of this character. But ultimately, in the same way we had with Bruce Wayne, we have the human behind all that, which is this Jack Napier character. So it feels coherent, so it doesn't just suddenly go, that doesn't sound anything like him. It suddenly changed. When we got Ewan in, it was obvious quite early doors, okay, this guy is an incredibly gifted voice actor, and he got what we were trying to do, which is part of the challenge of casting in general, is you can be incredibly gifted, but one of the important things is, do you kind of gel with the source material, and do you kind of understand the vision, for want of a better term, and the direction for that character?
When the casting for this came through, it wasn't exactly clear what this was, but because I'm of that particular age, when Nicholson did Batman, it was hugely significant. If you didn't live through that moment when Nicholson had done all these films, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and The Shining and Postman Always Rings Twice, and he was an incredibly serious actor. Then he said, I'm going to do this. And I think everyone went, why would you do that? Then he produced this thing. But anyway, so when the script came through, the lines were recognisably his. And so the choice, I made was to kind of go, well, to do my version of Jack for the tape. Yeah. And that turned out to be sort of what they were looking for. Then they went through a process of development, and they knew what they were doing. I didn't necessarily know where it was going, but as we went along, the idea of Heath was then introduced. Clearly in their minds, it was the guy falls off the building, lands in a cake, I believe. Yeah. And then, changes. There were elements of what Jack Nicholson did in what Heath did, and it sort of morphed into its own thing eventually, I think.
I think we actually had 5 minutes left of one of your sessions, and the way it kind of worked is we had blocks of time where they'd write a load, and then we'd do a load of recording and wait for the next load to come in. So it was the last session before we had you back for a while, and we'd done everything up to that falling moment when you fall on your face, and in those last 5 minutes, I think the guy said to us on the line, okay, now what kind of happens is he sort of has a fake death, like a Lego death, but as he's reborn, he's more Heath Ledger. So go. So we had about 5 minutes of sort of, maybe 3 minutes of it was watching through Heath Ledger clips, and then 1 minute of it was talking, well, how are we going to make Jack turn into Heath, what are we going to keep from Jack, what are we going to throw in, and then you did it, and it was like, yeah, spot on.
What doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
I worked with the rest of the narrative team to build the overarching story, really, and we would keep going layer by layer down in terms of detail and fleshing it out and finding these the key moments from the existing pieces of media that we wanted to recreate, and which ones would obviously make incredible cutscenes and which ones would make amazing sequences of gameplay. And so we started at that level, and then we would then start sharing that with the various design leads, and they would then come in and we would figure out, okay, well, how does this sequence unfold in gameplay? Iceberg Lounge's level is a great example of that, where we knew we wanted to go from the nightclub down like an iceberg to the lowest point to Falcone's office. And being a Lego game, we knew we wanted to have some fun about what those nightclubs would be in a Lego tone game. And our designers were amazing at going, all right, okay, what would that be? And we ended up with this amazing kind of soft play House of Fun sequence where you are sneaking around a ball pit, taking out enemy henchmen, which is so fun and so creative. And it was just great, to have those designers contribute and take, this story that we had down on paper and turn it into a really fun gameplay experience. The music's great as well. It turns into this really like synthy 80s kind of energy, and it's just a really nice place to hang out. And they spent a lot of time making the physics on the ball pit work, which was definitely worth it, because that's the fun thing about us approaching Batman in this way, right? Having Batman and Jim Gordon sneak round a funhouse, taking out enemies in a ball pit, is something you can only do in a Lego game.
I think the hardest thing with us in this game was your vocal ability to shout. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really hard for Batman in that voice, and I think in anyone who's ever done Batman, to try and hold that voice in that space and project. For the Barks, it was really about, well, how far can we push the voice to project? Because to some extent we need to project a little bit
before it goes to Bruce Wayne.
Before it goes to Bruce Wayne, before it doesn't have the intimidation effect, it doesn't have the gravitas, it doesn't have the cool factor. Like, where can we sit that? And I think that was the one we had to check on the most. Yeah. I think in all the other Barks, all the other scenarios, getting hit and stuff like that. I mean, Shai and Ewan have done so many games where you've hit and been hit that you can just say, okay, here, please give us 5 punches, please give us 5 being hit, please give us 5 being electrocuted, and you guys are just going to do fantastic work. But it is around those more specific shout lines.
I think that's where is she comes from. When Christian Bale, he was so not stuck in a negative way. He was stuck in that voice. How do you scream in that voice? You can't. There's no other way. So it has to be something that now sort of sounds weird, but there's no other way to do it. Also, what's the conceit? Like, because Barks are guttural. They're sort of instinctive voices. So you sort of wouldn't disguise your voice when you're doing one of those sounds. I know, again, it's going deep, but we are in the conceit that Batman sounds like that. So how do you go woohoo as Batman? How do you fall
in, like, the slide where he's coming down the slide and having fun? We're like, is this fun enough, and are we outside of combat enough for maybe just a bit of Bruce to come through? And then in which case you can go woo, or just like a version of that. And then with Ewan, we're doing the Barks. The struggle was the time limit we have for Barks. It's in gameplay, and something might happen that cuts someone off. And Jack's very cool and laid back, and he's very da-dung, da-dung, da-dung. And then to find a way of getting that intensity and getting the speed that the devs need, just in case something else happens and that line has to be rushed through before the next line comes out. Just seeing how we can get that fun, get that playfulness, but still be truthful to the character himself and not feel like, well, these are just 2 very different voices. And I found that was the hardest part, probably for the whole of the Joker recordings. Yeah,
there was a long chase sequence, wasn't there, with Red Hood, when he was running around and firing guns, and I didn't quite know how we got it to work in the end, but it did work. When I sort of watched it through, because he wasn't quite Jack, was he? I think that was the Get Out. Was he?
Yes, he was. He was still young.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Jack's a bit older than me, but he's a bit deeper than me, and all the rest. So there was a sort of. I think that felt to me that there was always a get out clause, that it was that, but it was Lego. Yes. It was that, but it was fun. Yeah. It was, that's sort of like the fun thing I guess you're talking about. And with Heath as well, there was a placement that seemed to work for those Barks. This sort of place.
I am such a big Batman fan that I'm just, inherently just proud to be part of that world that I love so much. Maybe it's not what I am proud of, but what I will be proud of is that, there's kids out there for whom I will be there for as Batman. And this version of Batman will be the one that makes them love Batman and will be the one that they remember. And so if we or I am part of achieving that, that will be such a proud moment.